you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I also want to thank our witness. I know that this is a very difficult job, and I want to just start first by talking a little bit about the office and the role it plays and how important it is, and then also address some of the concerns that I think many folks, of course, have. First, the Office of Refugee Resettlement has absolutely a critical mission in this country. When I was mayor of Long Beach, ORR actually opened an emergency shelter from right around July 2021. We had about almost 1,600 migrant children that ORR reunited with family or sponsors. I met dozens and dozens of these children at the center. It was a heartbreaking experience, but also I saw firsthand the incredible work that the partners on the ground, the immigration defense attorneys, the social workers, the doctors were doing to assist all of these young children, many of who were scared, wanted to see family, and many also who were very grateful to be here in this country, trying to escape a very difficult situation back home. And so I just first want to thank all of the workers at ORR, who I know do a very, very hard job in this country. But it is important to also note that we are concerned anytime that children are placed in unsafe conditions, and we believe that to be, of course, not just heartbreaking but unacceptable. We want to have sure that we have an agency that supports legal asylum, of course, and folks who come as refugees are not victims of human trafficking. I think we can all agree on that. We also know that these refugees and these children are some of the most vulnerable people that we have, and these people need a helping hand to build their lives. Immigrants, refugees, folks seeking asylum, they make contributions to our community, they make our country stronger. I personally am an immigrant myself. I came as a small child. I know how difficult that process is. And I see these kids just want to have the same opportunities that were given to me and to others in this country as well. Now, one of the most critical things that we do that we can do is make sure that our Office of Refugee Resettlement is strong, is well-funded, and is doing the important work that they have in this country. When an accompanied child arrives at the border, the child is, of course, quickly transferred out of the custody of Homeland Security and into the Office of Refugee Resettlement. The ORR is tasked with placing in the least restrictive settings, best possible, the best interests of the child, while the legal immigration process proceeds. The office and the process allows the Department of Homeland Security to do its job while protecting children. Now, when children are held in government custody, apart from their primary caregivers for long periods, we know that they suffer injury. It's long-lasting injury for these kids. And so we know that studies, we know that our policies to try to connect these kids with their sponsors as soon as possible. We all can agree that kids should not belong in cages. I want to, of course, thank HHS and the White House for transitioning from what was a very difficult period of time for ORR and the way that we actually serve children that were coming into our care. But we also know that we got to get kids out of unsafe shelter conditions and into sponsor homes. I know that about 90% of kids that are in ORR custody end up in sponsors that are direct family, and others are, I believe, other types of sponsors that I know are vetted as best possible through ORR. We do know that by reading recent reports that some kids are being placed in very exploitative conditions. We need to make sure that we have conditions that are safe for all of our children, and certainly we want to make sure that we have enough trained and qualified managers, social workers that can really cope with the influx that we have of children that arrive at the border, and the plans and systems that are in place to deal with this demand are gone through a process of vetting for sponsors, and that all suspicious partners are flagged. HHS must ensure that immediate follow-up happens when children request assistance regarding labor exploitation or the safety and security of their placement. We also need to have a serious conversation about how we make sure that we're fully enforcing our labor laws and holding corporations accountable when they knowingly and illegally profit from child labor. So I personally support legislation to crack down on these unethical employers. We also want to make sure that unaccompanied children have the full range of services they need, including mental health care, to keep them safe. And certainly, and hopefully our colleagues are committed to securing those resources. We want to make sure that we're not attacking asylum, but that we're actually working to ensure that those that are seeking asylum are being treated in a way that's fair and with respect. We also want to make sure that we are focused on increasing funding, that the needs that are real at ORR actually need additional funding support. Right now, there are bills being marked up that would actually stop additional funding, that would roll back and eliminate ORR's ability to even do any post-release follow-up. So we know that some of these bills that are moving through the House and the committee process would actually hurt our efforts to make corrections and to improve ORR's capability of supporting children throughout the entire process. We also want to make sure that we're doing everything we can through this committee to be serious about getting funding for the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Labor. A very important cause. So I'm grateful that we have this opportunity to work with you to make the necessary improvements to ORR as well. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.